Welcome, have a nice day. Today is Wednesday, 6th of November 2024. Yearly on November 6th, the world observes the International Day for Preventing the Exploitation of the Environment in War and Armed Conflict. This day serves as a reminder of the devastating impact that the war and conflict can have on our environment. From the Indian history point of view, on this day, 6th of November in 1888, Gandhiji entered the Inner Temple in London to take training as a barrister. On the same day, 6th November 1903, the United States recognized the independence of Panama. 6th November, also 1913, Mahatma Gandhi led the Great March against the policies of apartheid in South Africa. Now, going towards the world news, including United States exit polls, most Americans fear for democracy as Harris Trump face off. Bomb threat halts voting at a 5 Georgia polling site, says authorities suspect a Russian link. Hacks bomb threats originated from Russian email domains in United States battleground states FBI. Michigan, a man wins $1 million from the Elon Musk's political PAC on election day. How Biden would have fared against Trump if he had stayed in the race. How are NASA astronauts voting from space on the US election day? Now, starting the newspaper analysis briefly with the newspaper, The Hindu states that Buddhism can show the world how to counter sectarianism. President Murmu, whereas schools of Buddhism can show how to counter narrow sectarianism, said President Draupadi Murmu. President of India. We need to expand the discussion to see how Buddha Dharma can bring peace, real peace to Asia and the world, this says President at the inaugural Asian Buddhist Summit. At a time when the world is facing an existential crisis on the many fronts, including strife and climate change, whereas schools of Buddhism can show how to counter narrow sectarianism, President Draupadi Murmu said on Tuesday, adding that the central message of these schools remain focused on peace and non-violence. Inaugurating the first Asian Buddhist Summit in New Delhi, Ms. Murmu said there was a need to discuss the role of Buddha Dharma religion in the strengthening Asia. Indeed, we need to expand the discussion or to see how Buddha Dharma can bring peace, real peace to Asia and the world, a peace free from not only physical violence but also from all forms of greed and hatred, the two mental forces at the root of all our miseries, according to the Buddha, Ms. Murmu said. The Tuesday summit is being organized by the Union Culture Ministry in collaboration with the International Buddhist Confederation. Netanyahu dismisses defense minister in surprise announcement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant during the press conference. Mr. Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant have repeatedly been at odds over the war in Gaza, but Mr. Netanyahu had avoided firing his rival. Mr. Netanyahu cited significant gaps and a crisis of trust between the men. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday, November 5, 2024, dismissed his popular Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in a surprise announcement that came as the country is embroiled in the war on multiple fronts across the region. Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant have repeatedly been at odds over the war in the Gaza, but Mr. Netanyahu had avoided fighting his rival. Mr. Netanyahu cited significant gaps and the crisis of trust between the men and his Tuesday evening, November 5, 2024 announcement. In the midst of a war, more than ever, full trust is acquired between the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister, Mr. Netanyahu said. Unfortunately, although in the first months of the campaign there was a slight trust and there was a very fruitful work, during the last months, this trust cracked between me and the Defense Minister. In the early days of the war, Israel's leadership presented a unified front as it responded to Hamas' October 7, 2023 attack, but as the war dragged on the spread to Lebanon, key policy differences have emerged. While Mr. Netanyahu had called for continued military pressure on Hamas, Mr. Gallant had taken a more pragmatic approach, saying that military force has created the necessary conditions for a diplomatic deal that could bring home hostages held by a militant crew. Now going towards the Hindustan Times newspaper states that United States results live updates. Donald Trump led in a Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan narrows Harris chances. United States election results live. Republican candidate and Donald Trump won 26 states, including Montana, Texas, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, and more, while Democratic Kamala Harris bagged only 17 states. So far, as the early projections started streaming, the counting of the ballots is underway in the remaining countries. Trump appears to be heading towards the presidency as he has also won swing states in North Carolina and leading in the others. But Harris, however, could still defeat him even if she falls short in these two states with exactly 270 electoral college votes, notably by winning Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. She could achieve a rather thin margin of a victory. Nationally, there are a total of 538 electoral votes, or electors, meaning a candidate needs to secure 270 to win. In the 2020 election, President Joe Biden won 306 electoral votes to defeat Trump, who could only manage to garner 232 electoral votes. Besides that, the result of the United States presidential election will decide not only the next president but also which party controls the two chambers of the Congress, the Senate, and the House of the Representatives. Pollsters predict a closely contested race between the Trump and the Harris, with the outcome likely hinging on key swing states like Pennsylvania, Florida, Wisconsin, and others, where just a few thousand votes could tip the scales. This also means it could take some time before a winner could be projected. Delhi's air quality remains very poor. Shallow fog envelops the city for the second day. An average air quality index of 356 very poor was recorded at 9 a.m. Delhi air quality remained in the high end of the very poor category for a fourth straight day on Wednesday, as calm winds continued to impact the dispersion of the pollutants, even as the shallow fog enveloped the city for a second day. The Indian Meteorological Department (IMD) said visibility dipped to around 800 meters at 7 a.m. Similarly, visibility persisted over the next hour. Winds were calm, with shallow fog recorded for a second straight day on Tuesday, when we saw the season's first shallow fog. Visibility dropped to 800 meters, said an Indian Meteorological Department official. An average air quality index AQI of 356 very poor was recorded at 9 a.m. It marked a slight improvement from Tuesday's 4 p.m. reading of 373 very poor. The early warning system for Delhi EWS said conditions remain unfavorable for the dispersion of the pollutants and no significant change was expected in the air quality. It is said the air quality was likely to be very poor until the Friday. Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB) data showed at least 4 stations recorded with several category air quality at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. NSIT recorded 444 and Wazirpur an average air quality index of 421. Now going towards the economy of the country from the business point of view, Noel Tata joins the Tata Sons board. Tata Trusts, which holds over 66% stake in Tata Sons, has 3 nominees on the board of the Tata Sons. Apart from Noel Tata, others include the TVS Group Chief Venu Srinivasan and former Defense Secretary Vijay Singh. Noel Tata, who will turn 67 later this year, was lucky in the third instance in 2024. After the passing away of Ratan Tata, he was selected as the chairman of the trusts. Titan posts 25% decline in Q2 profit. Total income for the quarter, however, increased for 24.2% to rupees 12,458 crore as against rupees 10,027 crore in the September month of the quarter 2023. Titan Company Limited has reported a 25% fall in the net profit of rupees 705 crore for the second quarter and its September month of 2024 as against rupees 940 crore in the same period of the last year. After the muted first quarter, Q2 witnessed encouraging growth across the key business. Jewelry clocked healthy double-digit growth for the quarter. Our portfolio approach this business of straining diverse customer needs through the brands of the Tanish, Mia, Zoya, Kotlin is working well, Venkataraman said. Larsen and Torbro L&T to buy 21% stake in E2E Networks for Rs 1,407 crore. The company will not acquire control in E2E Networks. Following the proposed acquisition and will be a minority shareholder with a certain protective rights, it said. The narrative in India has changed from being viewed as a digital colony to that of evolving into the provider of sovereign cloud platforms to the world, Doe said. Larsen and Torbro L&T has proposed to acquire a 21% equity stake in E2E Networks, an Indian cloud and artificial intelligence cloud provider, at a cost of Rs 1,407 crore through a combination of the primary and secondary transactions. Under this alliance, L&T will integrate E2E Networks, a cloud and artificial intelligence cloud platform, with its expertise in data center management and cloud solutions towards the empowering startups and enterprise, L&T said. Now going to the science and tech, we have India must create leading space firms, not just server companies. ISRO Chief, Indian Space Research Organization Chairman S. Somnath. India has 450 companies making components to build and launch satellites, but ISRO's vision requires new players, young talent, and a thriving startups ecosystem and a large-scale investment from the government and private sector. To be a major space power, India needs to create a leading space companies and need not merely service companies, as Somnath, the chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, said on Tuesday, November 5, that is yesterday 2024, for the India to raise its contribution to the global space economy from the current 2% to 10% would require significant government support, he added. Speaking at the Indian Space Conclave organized by the industry lobby Indian Space Association, he said that while India has built a space program over the decades relying on infrastructure built on the moderate budgets, it was important to scale up and create new capabilities. Currently, India possesses 90% of the know-how and materials required to build rockets and 60% of that required for space components, he noted. There are about 450 companies in India that build parts of the component to build and launch satellites, but is realizing ISRO's vision require new players, aspiring young talent, and a thriving startup ecosystem, he added. Large-scale investment. Thanks to policies that enhance data accessibility, space-based applications are supporting sectors like agriculture and finance. However, a major challenge to the development of the Indian space sector is insufficient demand, meaning that there are not many private companies willing to invest into technology development of India's space sector. This is because the rate of change in the communications technology is often so fast that there is a risk that by the time a project is developed, it will be obsolete, Dr. Somnath explained. Amazon CEO denies full in-office mandate is backdoor layoff. An Amazon spokesperson declined to comment. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said at an all-hands meeting on Tuesday that the plan to require employees to be in office 5 days per week is not meant to force attrition. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said at an all-hands meeting on Tuesday that the plan to require employees to be in the office 5 days per week is not meant to force attrition or satisfy steel leaders, as many employees have suggested. The controversial plan mandating workers come to Amazon offices every day starting next year, up from 3 days now, has caused consternation among the employees who say it is stricter than other tech companies and will hinder efficiency because of the commuting times. Workers who are consistently not in compliance have been told they will be voluntarily resigning and locked out of the company computers. After the SpaceX's request, Taiwanese suppliers move manufacturing abroad, sources say. Elon Musk's SpaceX asked Taiwanese suppliers to transfer manufacturing off the island. Elon Musk's SpaceX asked the Taiwanese suppliers to transfer manufacturing off the island, leading to some relocating portions of their supply chain. Elon Musk's SpaceX asked Taiwanese suppliers to transfer manufacturing off the island, leading to the some or relocating portions of their supply chain according to the sources employed by and close to the equipment makers and corporate documents. Associated a company that is one of the numerous subcontractors that provide components for SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet products, said SpaceX asked their manufacturers to produce outside of Taiwan because of the geopolitical risks, pushing at least one to move production to Vietnam. A second source who collaborates with the Taiwanese satellite component makers on the island said suppliers were directly asked by the SpaceX to transfer manufacturing abroad. Chinpoon Industrial, a satellite component maker, which said it was recently a SpaceX supplier, told Reuters the United States company requested they move their manufacturing from Taiwan to Thailand for new orders, mostly due to geopolitical consideration. It did not elaborate. At last, there's a famous quotation by a famous leader of India, M.K. Gandhi, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Birth anniversary 2nd October 1869 up to 30th of January 1948. Was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, and a political ethicist who employed the non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from the British rule. He inspired in movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. The honorific Mahatma, meaning the great soul, venerable, first applied to him in the South Africa in 1914, is now used throughout the world. Assuming leadership of the Indian National Congress in 1921, Gandhi led nationwide campaigns for easing poverty, expanding women's rights, building religious and ethnic amity, ending untouchability, and above all, achieving Swaraj or self-rule. Gandhi adopted the short dhoti woven with the hands spun yarn as a mark of identification with India's rural poor. He began to live in a self-sufficient residential community, to eat simple food and undertake long fasts as means of both introspection and a political protest, bringing anti-colonial nationalism to the common Indians. Gandhi led them in challenging the British imposed salt tax with the 400-kilometer, that is 250 mile, Dandi Salt March in 1930, and in calling for the British to quiet India in 1942. He was imprisoned many times for many years in both South Africa and India. Gandhiji's birthday, 2nd October, is commemorated in India's Gandhi Jayanti, a national holiday and a worldwide as an International Day of Non-Violence. Gandhi is considered to be the father of the nation in post-colonial India. During India's nationalist movement and in several decades immediately after, he was also commonly called Bapu, an endearment roughly meaning the father. Mr. Gandhi says a very famous quotation. He says that if I have belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. Okay, thank you.